Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today we are talking Arsenal. Arsenal Football Club, top of the table right now. And I don't think a lot of people would have believed that at the beginning of the season. But the question really is here, are Arsenal genuine Premier League contenders? That's the question that we're going to be exploring today. That's the question I'm going to be talking about today. It's of course been a fantastic start by Mikel Arteta's side as the season has gone on. And of course, it's very early days still, but we are going to be discussing that particular topic. Before we go any further though, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always be greatly appreciated. And also would like to say that I know I've been on for a couple of weeks, but it's new place, new space and new internet finally, so this will obviously be back to a sort of more regular schedule than it has been this past couple of weeks. But I digress, I go all the way into that. We're going to be talking about Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. The great start they've had to the season, on whether or not they can maintain it and become genuine Premier League contenders for the title this season. Like I say, it's been a fantastic start by the Gunners. 6 wins out of 7 at the 7 games played so far. Of course, we had obviously a bit of a disruptive past couple of weeks due to obviously the death of the Queen and everything. The passing of the Queen, and it's kind of disrupted everything a little bit, obviously with all due respect, so that's obviously happened, but it has been a fantastic start by Arsenal. 6 wins out of 7, the only little blip come up obviously against Manchester United, and even in that game you kind of felt like Arsenal did play very well, they just couldn't take their chances when of course they fell to them. United were better in that area, better in the finishing of that game, and Arsenal at times in that game lacked a little bit of discipline, a little bit of maturity, and maybe a little bit of experience with obviously having a very young squad that maybe at key moments in that game could have turned the tie in their favour, especially obviously when Arsenal did get an equaliser in that game. You kind of felt maybe something was going to happen, but then they just threw the kitchen sink at it a little bit too early, and United were able to pick them apart on the counter-attack. But like I say, other than that minor blip, Arsenal have been fantastic this season, and it sounds daft for me to say because obviously they're top of the table, and obviously the table doesn't lie, but they have been the best team in the league so far. When you consider, like, okay, Manchester City have had Erling Haaland, he's been an inspiration and incredible. He's really hit the ground running so far this season. You look at obviously Liverpool and their faltering start. You look at Manchester United, who had a faltering start but have since got better and grown better and got better performances, better results. You simply say that this has been a fantastic start by Arsenal. The best start I think since the Invincibles kind of era. So it has been a fantastic start by Arsenal. They've done really well, and it's really annoyed a lot of the mainstream media who of course used Arsenal in the past as a bit of a clickbait sort of article. They would mock Arsenal, they would mock AFTV, they would use the bad spell of Arsenal, I guess you'd say, the poor performances, the poor results and everything else that went along with it, to mock Arsenal, to get clickbait, to just talk about Arsenal in a laughingstock kind of way. It's really annoyed them, so that they're clutching at straws to really try and pick Arsenal apart and try and bring Arsenal down for obviously the clicks, the views and everything else, so fair play to them. Going back to the football side though, each game for Arsenal has been, you know, somewhat difficult in its own way, and I think it's been a good test for Arsenal in each of the 7 games that they've played so far. Obviously when I talk about the Manchester United game, that was obviously the biggest game of their season, and they did falter, but there was enough to suggest that there was a sort of progression from Arsenal in terms of performance level, and in terms of if they can just get little things right here and there, they can use the experience, if they can take the positives from the game, then maybe they can go on to bigger and better challenges as the season progresses, and maybe this time get a better result out of it. You look at the Crystal Palace game, for example. Start of the season, tough away ground to go to, Selhurst Park, always going to be hostile. they went there and they won comfortably, and they got a clean sheet out of it. A very, very good result. May not have been the best of performances on that day, but it was a very good result. You look at against Leicester. Okay, Leicester have been absolutely shocking this season, but they still have a very decent squad that can turn it on at any moment, and it is the kind of banana skin kind of fixture that Arsenal have faltered in the past. They passed with flying colours. You look at Bournemouth, a newly promoted side, another potential banana skin, passed with flying colours. You look at Fulham, proven to be a very difficult side this season. London Derby, obviously, going to be up for it, going to be feisty, and again, passed with flying colours. Aston Villa, a Jekyll and Hyde kind of side so far this season, proven to be difficult against Arsenal in previous seasons. Arsenal passed that test, and obviously more recently another London derby against Brentford. Tricky opposition overall. We know what Brentford are like. They can be high energy, high press, and obviously very good on counter-attack. Arsenal overcame that hurdle, a very good victory, and not only that, but also it was off the back of the Manchester United defeat, which I always think is better to do when obviously you're coming off the back of a defeat, to see how far you've come and how far you've obviously grown as a team. And I think that them bouncing back in the way that they did, and did in very good fashion with a 3-0 victory, was obviously telling of how far this Arsenal side has come as well. Obviously, there are still going to be bigger and better tests ahead of them. They've still got to face the likes of Manchester City, of course, and even though they haven't had a good start of the season, like I mentioned earlier, they've still got Liverpool to come, which has always been a notorious tough ground to go to and a tough team to face overall. And they've, of course, got other teams that are going to be difficult to face, the likes of your Newcastles and your Chelsea's and your Tottenhams and everything. But so far, so good for the Gunners. And it's not only been the performances of the team overall that's been impressive, it's also been the individuals in that team as well, the newcomers and even some of the ones that have already been there. You look at the likes of Alexander Zinchenko, who's really bedded in well since arriving from Manchester City. The Arsenal fans have very quickly taken to him. You look at Fabio Vieira, okay, he's had a very tricky start with injuries and everything, but he scored a fine strike of a goal against Brentford, and long may, obviously the Arsenal fans are really hoping that it continues going forward, that his performances continue, his influence in the team continues, and maybe he can scare off the injuries enough to actually have a bit of consistency of minutes on the pitch. And of course, the man of the moment right now, it seems, Gabriel Jesus, arguably, in my opinion, the signing of the summer. I said he would be very good when he joined. I said that he would score plenty of goals when he joined Arsenal. I said that he would slot in straight away with Mikel Arteta's style of play, the players around him, and he would be an influential figure in that Arsenal dressing room. And so far you can see that he has bedded in well. And I think the biggest compliment I can always give a striker is that even if he's not scoring, he's still got an influence in Arsenal's play. And I think in every game this season, you've seen him have an influence in everything that Arsenal have done that's been positive. It's been very good from an Arsenal point of view. It's been very good from their standpoint in signing this player. And I think a lot of other teams may have missed the boat and missed the trick by not signing Gabriel Jesus. But their loss is obviously Arsenal's gain, and I think Jesus has been a fantastic signing across this season so far for the Gunners. And I mentioned the players that are already there. I look at like Granit Xhaka. He looks like a brand new player. Like, he is running that midfield for Arsenal, and he's being a bit more offensive. He's being a bit more attacking, making these late runs and everything, and he's controlling the midfield. He looks like a brand new player, and full credit to him for his attitude in doing that, and full credit obviously to Mikel Arteta for changing that. Another player that should receive a lot of praise is William Saliba. Again, could have easily thrown his toys out the pram when obviously things weren't exactly going his way with Arsenal, but I think it's down to the man management of Mikel Arteta, the attitude of the player, and obviously the communication that they must have had to obviously come up with this plan to try and bed him in, send him out on loan last season, bring him into the fold this time around. And I think that you're seeing him for what it is right now, and he's doing exceptionally well. He's a very strong character in the defence of Arsenal. He's pushing Ben White out to right back after all. He's doing exceptionally well. There, he's had a very good beginning of the season, scored a couple of goals, few clean sheets here and there. He is doing fantastic. Other players to mention, Aaron Ramsdale, he continues to improve. Gabriel Martinelli, he's adding more goals to his game. He just needs to obviously stay away from injuries, which so far so good for him. But he's done fantastically well as well. And of course, Martin Odegaard, the brand new skipper of Arsenal, done very well, really taken to his captaincy role exceptionally well as well. So it all seems very positive for Arsenal. Yes, there are still a few bits and pieces here and there, little few negatives here and there, and things to improve upon and work upon. But it wasn't going to obviously be an overnight success, and it was never always going to, be the case of everything was going to be cleared up within the first couple of years. Like, nothing was going to be like that. There are still things to work on. There are still things that need to be improved upon, but so far so good in terms of this season. The performances of individuals, the performance as a team overall, and I just think that they're doing very well right now. I think there are still bigger and better tests to come for them in terms of the teams that they'll face, but also in terms of their composure, their concentration levels, the squad management from Mikel Arteta's side in particular. There's been a lot of obviously talk about Mikel Arteta and whether he's the right man or not, and some of his past decisions haven't exactly worked out according to plan. So far so good for him. He's got everything right so far in my opinion, but obviously as the season draws on, you're going to be looking at his rotation plan, how he manages the players, manages more than one game a week. Obviously with Arsenal in the Europa League and everything, that's going to be a factor even more so as the season goes on. Covering for injuries, what happens if a big injury happens to a big player? What if Jesus, for example, does get injured? Will Eddie Nketiah be able to step up and everything? So on and so forth. It's just going to be very interesting to see how they cope with that. Obviously, like every team, they're going to have to cope with the disruption of the World Cup as well in the middle of the campaign. How will they cope when in the kind of second half of the season, if you like? There's a lot of factors to factor in with this, but if Arsenal can continue their very positive and strong start to the season, there's no reason why they can't go on and challenge. As mad as it may have sounded at the beginning of the season, everyone was kind of saying that Arsenal are pretty much a top 4 contender, not a Premier League contender, and there's no reason why they can't do it. I just personally think that with the cohesion that they've shown so far this season, and the cohesion thing has been something that I talked about in previous videos and said that I've been impressed with how well they've done and everything. And the togetherness of the squad and how that continues to build with each and every result, whether positive or negative. This team seems to be bonding together in this positive atmosphere. It's always strengthening. By the passing day, it's always strengthening, and that is very good to see that a group of these players that are relatively young. There's obviously a core kind of young setup to this group of like maximum age of 25, I think. So that's very good to see as well that Arteta has really built up this squad of very young players that can go on for the next 5 to 10 years or so, and continue to bond and to gel and to obviously add different parts here and there and continue to rebuild Arsenal to their former glory almost. It's always been something that I've said. I've always called Arteta out for when he stagnated, but I've got to give him props here and I've got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done. Do I think that they can maintain the challenge though, which is the overall point of the video? I don't think so for this season. I see them falling off a little bit. I don't see them falling off too much. I always said that they would definitely get top 4. I think anything further than that is just going to be a bit of a bonus. I think Arsenal fans may just have to go for the ride a little bit this season. But so far so good. Enjoy it for the moment. Celebrate it for the moment. Don't let like mainstream media like tell you can't celebrate a victory against Fulham and everything like that. That's already been happening to Arsenal this season, which, like I say, is because Arsenal have been playing so well that they're clutching at straws to try and hit Arsenal with something. So, with that being said, like I say, in my opinion, I just don't think Arsenal will be able to maintain it. I still think they're 1 or 2 players off in terms of squad depth to really challenge the likes of Manchester City. I think City will obviously go on to produce a strong title contendership. And I think Arsenal, if they continue to play the way they are, and if they stay away from major injuries and everything like that, then obviously they can definitely challenge. But I just don't think they have enough about them to really go for the Premier League title this season. But, like I say, enjoy the ride while it lasts, because it's been a very good start to the season. It's been impressive to see the whole team gel and bond together and go well together, whether it's the new players that have come in or some of the old ones that have shown vast improvement in their ability, in their talent and their role in the team. It's been a fantastic start for Arsenal, and you know, I'm a Liverpool fan that's from the outside looking in. I'm a little bit jealous of the start that they've had compared to obviously Liverpool's start. But fair play to Arsenal, to Mikel Arteta, deserves huge praise and plaudits and accomplishments and everything else right now that is going his way. But as I always say, guys, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. This guy, I don't know what you guys think. What do you make of the Mikel Arteta Arsenal era so far? What do you make of the start to the season and everything else that goes along with what I talked about with Arsenal? Can they be genuine Premier League contenders? That is obviously the main focus of today's video. I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, down below in the comment section. I'm sure it'll make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up and enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. And I will speak to you all again soon in another video.